With 2023 coming to a close, I thought everyone would appreciate some of the highlights from the Fantasy Games 1 channel in its first year in existence.
Patrick Mahomes abandons reason for madness.
And Bijan is coming. Bijan is coming.
Fields of Dreams gets one thumb down.
He's eventually coming.
Look at this photograph. Every time I do it makes me laugh.
He's active. He's coming, right? He's playing. I hope he's playing.
You shall not pass.
Down in one thumb, probably off a little to the side, I guess.
Yeah, feeling good on a Wednesday. Sparkling.
So Gandalf is here to present Fantasy Games 1 to you today, because there won't be much of an excuse to dress like this anymore.
And it's the name of my weekly fantasy football show, I guess you could say.
And this is the Fantasy Games 1 Week 6 React. What?
And it's the name of this weekly installment, this weekly video.
The Fantasy Games 1 Week 6 Recap and Reaction.
And it's also the name of this video show.
Clearly, I haven't been doing this for too long.
Of course, I'll get this posted on Wednesday because the wizard is never late.
Still gonna get a video up because I'm a professional.
I'm serious and I'm a professional.
Who won the week in week 10? What week is it? There. Which is good. I retired the whiteboard.
I'm not going to bury the lead. Joe Burrow has been the worst failure in fantasy football so far in 2023.
I knew it was a bold claim to say Jamar Chase was the most talented wide receiver in the NFL. My life is everything I feared it would be and nothing I hoped it would become.
But you might be wondering, how bad is he?
But to be honest, I underestimated the blowback. Hopefully your teams are not dead yet.
I'm not dead.
Joe Burrow has had the worst 4-week stretch.
I'm gonna try not to squeak my chair too much like I just did right there.
Raheem must start. I've been going with Raheem Mustard.
I always look forward to November. I gotta catch my breath here after yelling, and I can't really breathe through this super well.
While having a hot dog or 2 or 3. Hope you got some extra Mostert on those hot dogs.
Because I got the young kids around, and they, I want them to enjoy football. I don't want to scare the living shit out of them from all these horror movie commercials.
My clearly basement dwelling body?
Okay, week 11.
They're in the computer?
Had this, let me check here. I'm gonna put my notes over here because this is where they are on the screen. What are we talking about here? Oh yeah, fantasy football. Jalen Hurts this past week. If you're watching the percent chance of winning for your team at about halftime compared to the end of the game, that was probably an 80% swing.
You have Joe Burrow. You're going to put him back in your starting lineup, and he's just going to be hurt again. Week 3 had more chirping Dolphins than in Aaron Rodgers' meditation tape.
Rick. 10 things. Debo's back.
Here come Debo. Give me your stuff.
If that happens, even Flipper won't be able to save all the drowning fantasy managers.
That was an interesting experience, and I will never forgive Ezekiel Elliott for that. Tyreek week, it's more like just rename week. It's Tyreek 11. Hope you enjoyed, and hope you started Ayuk for his 2 touchdowns, and what'll probably be his only touchdowns for the first half of the fantasy season.
Let's go recap week 3. Players are supposed to do well are not really doing too well. I love graphs like this. I wish this were something we could just blow out on a magazine. I would see myself reading this in the waiting room with the barber, just staring at it.
Christian McCaffrey with a good week. Starting to look like he might have been the right pick for first overall. Jets defense did amazing as well. They're a really talented group. They're probably gonna be playing a lot of defense this year.
Christian McCaffrey is getting the ball so much, he's taking up volume from not just Elijah Mitchell. He's taking volume from the 49ers receivers. Pleasantly surprised that it was Snakes on a Plane. At least was number 2. For probably 25 minutes if it was a Saturday morning and there was a long wait. Actually, some of those waits were even Jamar Chase. Just so much talent. Just talent, proverbial talent, all over the studio.
And it goes in a long list of injuries that you really, really should not Google. I'm not going to put them up on the screen.
He's probably taking volume from Brock Purdy. I don't even know if the center's going to get as many snaps in. Maybe it's my talent.
Also from New Jersey, I also am a Jets fan, and as a result, I get a little distracted. But I might watch one because I can't stop thinking about it.
I'd like to thank Jamar Chase for at least not sucking this week.
It's too bad. I really was hoping for more Nico Collins here.
I've been told I look like George Kittle. I might look more like Aaron Baines, though.
Cortisone is an amazing thing. I don't know that firsthand, though. At least not yet.
We just got over we already have another genius coach in the division. We have for 25 years or so now. And I got to mention Devin A. Chan.
Even Ingram. Evan Ingram. Even Evan Ingram.
I mean, who would have known that Desmond Ridder would be a less than prolific quarterback for the Falcons? Who could have seen that coming? See, something happened when I became a dad. Devin 4chan. Oh, I'm sorry, Devin 8chan. Nico Collins is on here.
Nico, my cousin! I can't believe it, you're here!
All of a sudden, names that I used to get right, names that I know, no longer came out of my mouth or out of my fingers the right way. It just looks like you had a good draft because your team is doing well.
And then this one, oh my goodness. Oh, Lord.
Or should I say the team playing against the Giants at number 1. I'm just going to record myself just pulling up files in Excel. Justin Jefferson and Christian McCaffrey have been consistent as That just looks really weird. Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones percent started.
All right, before I vomit on the camera, let's move on.
Zach Moss leading the way. Man.
Joshua Kelly is averaging 9.8 points per game when Austin Eckler is playing, and only 4.2 fantasy points per game when he's not.
This week, we're seeing some starting running backs that clearly want to be backups. Look at this. 10 of the 14 least valuable players are all running backs.
You see, I have this theory. Sean McVay, he didn't want to cut Cam Akers, because if you cut Cam Akers, you can't bench him. He really likes benching Cam Akers.
Jahmyr Gibbs has been so bad, he's been almost as bad as Najee Harris.
And that makes sense, because fantasy football is for degenerates. Like me.
Desmond Ridder with a good aim because nothing makes sense.
That's fantasy football, and we're all masochists for playing it. Hope everyone enjoyed Calvin Ridley Referendum Day Thursday night. I don't know how Brandon Cooks is only 30 years old. He feels like he's 40 years old. The hell are you talking about, Byron? It's like when they have a sale at, I don't know, a Porsche dealership or something. This isn't the first time that Noah was largely untrusted by the general public. It's a great value. No, still can't afford it. It's Bible jokes. And Fantasy Games 1. Nico Collins is on the JV All-Stars this week.
Nico, my cousin!
It only seems like you had a good draft because your players are doing well.
Flip on over to the disappearance of investment leaderboard.
And it's gone.
You've owned Allen Robinson over the past few years. You know why this is named after him.
I don't know what's going on with my logo here where it keeps creeping closer to the name every week. I already have a bear pelt or two that he's worn to games, I'm not sure.
It sounds like they just grabbed someone out of the first row of the stadium in Denver. Is it possible that Najee Harris just isn't that good anymore? Or is it just...
Did anyone here draft Jake Elliott in the first round? Because he's playing like a first round pick. Daniel Carlson. People keep starting him as their kicker.
I wish I didn't have anything. I wish I just had nothing, but I have less than that.
Get rid of these kickers soon. Although Cameron Dicker can stay. I look forward to more Dicker the Kicker jokes.
Hey, I heard you hurt your neck. Yeah, hopefully you had Tyreek Hill. Yeah, he's good.
What was it, 2007 or so, when Burger King had the BK Stacker release? One of my favorite burgers of all time. The Cowboys offense has been an odd one to invest in this year. If I really cared about my long-term health, I wouldn't be a Jets fan. The Vikings, Jordan Addison, Alexander Madison, Jordan Jefferson, and TJ Hawkinson. That would actually come out to a win percentage of 121%, which doesn't make any sense. Helped heavily by Dak Prescott. Pacheco! Frodo!
Joe Burrow, for the first time all year, is not the least valuable player in fantasy.
Although, those of you that really liked Tony Pollard going into the season like I did, he's nowhere to be seen yet. It's unfortunate. That was a tough one to predict. As far as the stacks that instead just stacked up your arteries, the arteries of your fantasy football team. He's really taken us his managers on a quest through a barren plain. They're the sons of Addy, Maddie, Jeffer, and Hawkin.
See, that title now belongs to Najee Harris.
Which is fitting because he's from New Jersey. Because I'm also from New Jersey, I can say that.
I just call people things. I'm from New Jersey. I just call people names that they don't even necessarily agree to, but it's a sign of endearment.
Losing is a path that Damian Pierce has been taking a lot this year.
Go home.
Travis Kelce with his worst week since week 8 of 2021. Dad, what was week 3 like for Damian Pierce owners? Everyone's doing the McMahon meme.
Especially Booger's big head.
Jalen Hurts is on there too. The Eagles are coming. I
understand the love coaches have with Latavius Murray. He must be like a really charming guy or something, like in the practice field, I guess.
I mean, that stat probably just shows how good Travis Kelce's been, because a 2.9 point week is pretty normal for tight ends these days. Week 3 was snakes on a plane. I guess that means week 10 for Keenan Allen was they came together?
I haven't had my kids dressed like hobbits for Halloween yet, but that day is coming because they're going to grow taller, and that ruins the costume.
They're at the age where they actually might confuse real Vikings with the Viking team, so I'm going to take advantage of that, because that doesn't last forever. Speaking of nice couples, here we have the CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott combination.
I was celebrating, and yeah, I mean, maybe Will Levis is good.
The Photoshop on those album covers is rough. While we're talking about singing, my mother told me someday I would buy. This is the romance for the ages. If you have them both, hopefully, this movie ends up.
Apparently, Will Levis also has one of the stronger arms in the entire NFL. Like, he can throw like 80 yards or something like that.
Tight ends with low floors, prone for random high scores.
And I really didn't know who K9 was. I kind of assumed it was Kenneth Walker because I didn't know what number he was at the time.
It's time to ask K9 to lie down for a week. Lie down. K9, lie down. A couple more weeks like this, we'll start to wonder if he'd better off with a walker.
Isaiah Pacheco is not trying to rob you. He's trying to help you.
On a high note, because you're making it to the final act here, this is going to prompt a need to look at the best stacks of all time, to be honest, because this is one that's probably gotten you and single-handedly into the playoffs. Still disappointed we're not getting more, Nico Collins in here. Nico, my cousin! And this week it was Blake Group. Nico Collins makes the top list at the 4th spot.
Nico, it's Roman. Let's go both.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
If you look at all the tight end weeks for this year, Tyreek Hill was still started apparently by 46% of fantasy managers. Filter here. Tyreek, it's looking like we're having a late season collapse. Reminds me of that triathlon runner. Let's do the research during the video. And Arthur Smith.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Justin Herbert. Yeah, is there another Herbert? No, that's it. I feel bad for that chain gang guy. That leg was not as straight after that impact as it was supposed to be. You're trying to land the plane. It's the playoffs, and it's not looking too good.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
He's no longer the RB2. He's actually now down to the RB4. Wait. All right, so he's Travis Etienne, still the RB2. Higbee.
yeah.
Higbee. And Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee edging out Pat Fryermuth for the top tight end that nobody started. Also injured and on the bottom 15 for the week, we had Ramondre Stevenson.
I'm going to finish up here with a little bit of a story. So you see, I have this sink piping problem.
There's one thing that makes me feel better about being a Jets fan is that they're also Chargers fans.
And it pops off about every 6 months or so.
DeAndre Swift, who's at 81%, hasn't been doing amazingly yet, but actually did leave the game with an injury at some point. Played most of the game, though. Because remember, David Etienne's amazing week 3.
In the computer.
Checking to see if Christian Kirk, 72% started.
Middle finger of a puddle in the middle of the kitchen. And it has a tendency to do this when other things are going wrong. It's like it watches us, and if anyone's getting stressed in the house, it starts boop, pops off, and it says like, hey, deal with this too.
Marquise Brown, still 51% started. Ended up with no points there.
Coming down with a fever. I was starting to get hot.
Did the Dallas defense get injured? I didn't think they got injured, but they played like the whole defense was injured.
We also got a call in the middle of this where my mother-in-law apparently was temporarily for like 5 minutes paralyzed after falling down and still had to be convinced to go to the hospital.
Old people are driving!
It's Christian McCaffrey. It's just oops. If you have Christian Watson on your team, you're probably dealing with a bit of a mix of emotions right now. Like on one hand, it was a good week. On another hand, you probably benched him. One hand, he played most of the game, but he did getting injured again. And Jordan Love looks really good, which is probably good for him, but also so do the other receivers for the Packers right now. And I don't know how you feel about him.
Oh, and our washing machine broke, so we had mountains of flu clothes.
I always remember Justin Herbert as being the guy whose rookie card went off. Gabe Davis does it again.
I mentioned that 2 of the 3 kids had the flu. The one that didn't is our 1-year-old.
This is the classic fantasy football situation of start the guy, does nothing. That's just how it works. It's how it works. In games where Gabe Davis, this is really funny. In games where Gabe Davis is started less than 20% of the time, he's averaging 16.7 fantasy points.
He was getting the John Connor treatment. We would treat him like the golden child. He couldn't be touched here.
In games where he's started more than 20% of the time, or 20% or more, he's averaging 2.7 fantasy points. The 56% starting gets 0. I don't know if you should do that.
I know what you're thinking. I came to talk you out of it.
Maybe don't start Gabe Davis in week 14. No, Gabe Davis, this is amazing.
That washing machine knew what it was in for when he got home. The way we were going to beat the hell out of
I'm only laughing because I didn't pick it. I don't have Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis. Why am I talking about Gabe Davis? Did he do anything? Well, Gabe Davis, he broke the streak.
The line has ended. Out of the back on this side of the highway would have been a more gentle way to go.
Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
What about that shadowy place?
You must never go there.
Reminds me of the last time I think I've seen, like Jets quarterback performances that were this bad, which might have been back in the probably when Geno Smith was on the team. Yeah.
While I was strapping it down, I got a picture text from my wife of that big middle finger puddle in the middle of the kitchen floor.
This isn't over. The Jamar Chase versus Justin Jefferson discussion will continue.
Week 6 swims with the Dolphins. Hopefully you're swimming with Raheem Mostert. I had a moment of clarity. I was like, you know what?
Markham just didn't play this week. He actually ended up passing Patrick Mahomes. And
no matter what happens, no matter what falls apart in the house, or what disease comes through the family, and
hopefully your Goffelcopter is still at cruising altitude.
Dick solace in at least one thing. I didn't draft Najee Harris on any of my 2023 fantasy teams.
It's been a privilege and an honor. If you enjoyed this video, I'm not going to dress as Gandalf every time, but
if your fantasy team's leaking into the kitchen floor, just know that we're all going down in this fantasy football ship together.
Good luck finishing all the food. Good luck tolerating Tim Boyle on Black Friday. Just remember that we all are going down, in a lot of cases, have already gone down in this fantasy football ship together. If you want to follow on to see who the MVP is or who the playoff MVP is, tune in next week or just keep watching for the rest of the season. We got a few more weeks left. But if this is it for you, if you're done,
I'm out.
I hope you subscribe. We'll have some off-season content coming, more random stuff, I guess you could say. Random fantasy football topics, off-season things. So thanks for tuning in. Merry playoffs to all, and to all, a good night.